You're listening to Your Calm Parenting Path. I'm your host Nina, a mindful parenting coach and mum, here to help you go from overwhelmed and reactive to calm, confident and connected with your kids. This show is for parents who want to raise their children with more patience, less stress and a whole lot more joy. Because small shifts make a big impact and you can build the parenting life you've always wanted. If you want to see what I'm up to, follow me on Instagram at Mindful Parenting Lifestyle, and don't forget to hit follow or subscribe so you never miss an episode. Let's get started. Hi there, and welcome back. If you've listened to past episodes of Your Calm Parenting Path, you remember that we've talked a lot about siblings and about stepping out of the referee role, not jumping in with who started it, but starting to slow things down and really listening to what's going on underneath the conflict. And that's such an important foundation. But today I want to talk about something that can quietly pull us back into that old way of responding, and that's punishment. Because even when we want to respond differently, punishment is often what we fall back on, especially when things feel loud, chaotic, and overwhelming. So let's take a closer look at what punishment is actually doing beneath the surface, particularly when it comes to sibling relationships. Before we go any further, I really want to get clear on what I mean when I say punishment, because it can mean different things to different people. In this episode, I'm talking about things like sending a child to their room, taking something away, removing privileges, timeouts used as a consequence, or anything where the goal is to apply a consequence for what's happened, and most often a non-natural consequence. It's a sense of you've done something wrong, so now something happens to you. And I just want to say that there is no judgment here. Most of us were raised this way. So it makes sense that this is what we reach for, especially when things feel chaotic or overwhelming. And it can feel like it works. Things go quiet, the behaviour stops. But what I want to explore today is what is it teaching underneath the moment? One of the biggest things that changes with punishment is how children understand behaviour itself. So today I want to walk you through 4 ways that punishment can affect your children, not just in the moment, but in how they think, how they feel, and how they relate to each other over time. Just quickly, I wanted to touch on the previous episode. So if you wanted to go back and listen to them, you'll have the information. So in episode 28, How to Stop Being the Referee in Sibling Fights, we looked at what happens when we step out of the judge and jury role and how that changes the dynamic between siblings. And then in episode 47, it was all about understanding sibling conflict, what's happening underneath. We explored what's really going on beneath those arguments, so we're not just reacting to what we see on the surface. And today's episode definitely builds on both of these. So here are the 4 ways that punishment can affect your children, not just in the moment, but in how they think, how they feel, and how they relate to each other over time. The first one is that punishment shifts how children think about behaviour. One of the biggest things that changes with punishment is how children understand behaviour itself. When punishment is the response, the focus becomes, what do I need to do to avoid getting in trouble? And that's very different from what's the right thing to do here. Over time, behaviour becomes externally driven. So it's guided by avoiding consequences, staying out of trouble, trying to be seen as the good one, instead of being guided by empathy, understanding impact, and a genuine desire to treat others well. And this is where that idea of intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation comes in. We want our children to behave kindly because they feel that it matters, not because they're trying to avoid getting in trouble. Because when behaviour is externally motivated, it often depends on whether someone is watching. And when it's internally motivated, it stays with them in their friendships, at school, and later in life. Number 2, punishment puts children into self-protection mode. The second shift is emotional. When a child feels they might be blamed or punished, their focus naturally moves to protecting themselves. They're thinking about explaining their side, defending themselves, making sure that they're not the one in trouble. And in that space, there's not a lot of room for empathy, curiosity about their sibling, or taking responsibility. It's not because they don't care, but because their attention is just on themselves. And when it comes to sibling relationships, this matters because what we're really trying to support is, how do I understand the person in front of me? How do I stay connected even when something goes wrong? And punishment shifts the energy away from connection and towards self-protection. Number 3, punishment can erode the sibling relationship. Over time, this starts to affect the relationship between siblings. If conflict regularly ends with someone being blamed or punished, it creates a sense of unfairness or comparison or tensions that don't fully resolve. And as we've talked about before, when we step in and decide who's right and wrong, we often create a winner and a loser, even when that's not our intention. And over time, that can shift siblings from we're figuring this out together to one of us is going to come out on top here. And that's not the kind of relationship most of us are hoping to build long term. And finally, punishment interrupts learning. This next part is really important because punishment can stop the behaviour in the moment. It can feel like the problem's been solved. But the learning we actually want doesn't happen. Children don't get as much opportunity to express what they were feeling, hear the other person's experience, work through the problem, repair the relationship. And those are the exact skills that they need, not just at home, but in friendships, schools, and later life. So what we often see is the same conflict showing up again and again, not because they're not capable, but because they haven't had the chance to practice something different yet. So, when we put all this together, punishment doesn't just affect behaviour in the moment. It shapes how children think about right and wrong, how they respond when things go wrong, and how they relate to each other over time. And this is where those previous episodes I mentioned earlier come in, because the alternative isn't doing nothing. It's creating space for something to happen. So this week, I don't want you to change everything. I want you to notice with a little bit more intention. If you haven't already, go back and listen to those previous episodes in the series because they give you the foundation for what we talked about today. Then, when conflict happens this week, you have 2 options. Option 1. If you do find yourself using punishment, pause afterwards and reflect. What happened next? How did each child respond? Did it actually resolve anything between them? And how did you feel afterwards? And I will pop these questions in the show notes so you do not have to remember them now. Your second option is this. At some point this week, try something different. It doesn't have to be perfect. It might just be holding back from giving a consequence straight away, allowing a bit more space, focusing on understanding before deciding what to do. And then reflect again. How did that feel? What felt uncomfortable? And did anything shift even slightly? You might even jot a few notes in your phone. Just start to noticing these patterns because once you see the pattern, it becomes much easier to shift it. Now, before we finish, I want to touch on something really important. Moving away from punishment doesn't mean letting kids get away with things. This isn't about doing nothing. It's about shifting from punishment to discipline. Punishment is focused on stopping the behaviour, applying a consequence. Discipline is focused on teaching, guiding, helping children learn what to do instead. Discipline still includes boundaries, stepping in when things aren't safe, supporting repair, helping children move forward. But the intention is different. It's not about stopping the behaviour in the moment. It's about helping children learn something that lasts beyond that moment. And yes, it can feel slower, sometimes messier, but over time, it builds children who understand the impact of their action, can take responsibility, and want to treat others well, not just avoid getting in trouble. Now, if this episode has resonated with you and you're thinking, I want to handle these moments differently, but I need more support, I'm running a 6-week program called Siblings Without Rivalry, starting on the 19th of May, 2026. And this is a guided program where we go much deeper into what's underneath sibling conflict, what to say in the moment, and how to support your kids to work things out over time. It's designed to help you move out of that constant referee role and feel more calm and confident in how you respond. So if that sounds like something you'd like support with, you can find all the details in the show notes. Now, if you're listening after the 19th of May, there will be a spot for you to join a waitlist if this program is something you're interested in. Okay, so that's all for this week. Thank you for being here. And remember, as you go into this week, just start noticing. You don't need to change everything overnight. You're just beginning to see things in a new way, and that is where real change starts. See you next time, my friend. Take care now. Thanks for listening to Your Calm Parenting Path. I am so glad you're here, and I hope this episode gave you something useful to take into your parenting journey. If you'd like to dive deeper, sign up to my mailing list at mindfulparentinglifestyle.com.au for more tips and insights, or book a free chat to learn how we can work together. And don't forget to hit follow or subscribe so you never miss an episode. I look forward to speaking with you next time on Your Calm Parenting Path.